Honorable dignitaries, esteemed speakers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm incredibly honored to welcome you all to Indonesia Pavilion to attend the last session of the day, which will be talking about conservation of our tropical forests. So tropical forests play a major important role for human well-being and to support food and energy security and many, many more. However, tropical forests are facing many, many challenges such as deforestation and land degradation. The good news is the awareness to balance between socio-economic and the sustainability of the forests are increasing. So this effort, however, required an adequate amount of funding. To set the tone for the discussion, allow me to welcome our keynote speaker. Being the first one, she's the Deputy Coordinating Minister for Food Accessibility and Safety, Republic of Indonesia, Ibu Nani Hendiarti.
His Excellency Muhammad Said Sultan Al Nuaimi, Undersecretary of the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment of the United Arab Emirates, distinguished moderator, speaker, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Very good afternoon. On behalf of the Government of Indonesia and the Coordinating Ministry for Food Affairs, I would like to welcome you at the Indonesian Pavilion today to discuss one of the world's greatest assets in regulating the global climate, preserving biodiversity, and supporting the livelihood of the millions of the people, named the Nature-Based Solution and Climate Action. I would like also to express my appreciation to our partners, Pertamina, Asia Pulp and Paper Sinarmas, ID Survey, and UNDP Indonesia for organizing this important session together with us. The rising temperature threatens all quality of life, such as water supply, health, and food security. It also impacts to the sustainability of biodiversity, and Indonesia is blessed to abundant natural resources for climate solution. With 120 million hectares of the tropical forest and 3.4 million hectares of the mangrove, Indonesia has big contributions as the lungs of the earth. The government of Indonesia has taken significant steps in advancing sustainable forest management involving the community, such as social forestry. By granting legal access and long-term certainty to communities, social forestry empowers local people to become the active stewards of the land. It creates a space for innovation and also partnership and inclusive economic growth. So we have provided 8.3 million hectares from the target of the 12.7 million hectares with more than 15,000 community groups that also do the agroforestry. This program is not only for sustainable environment, but also to enhance the livelihood. So we realize that we cannot doing the big program alone. We need coordination cross ministries. Also, that we truly appreciate the growing of the global support and cooperation to protect and conserve this ecosystem through investment, among others, research and innovation, as well as community-based action. The government of Indonesia and the United Arab Emirates has long-standing relationships in various sectors, including environment and forestry sectors. Our partnership through Mangrove Development Cooperation and Mangrove Alliance for Climate, which is a joint initiative to enhance and accelerate mangrove conservation, restoration, and planting effort worldwide as a virtual nature-based solution to the climate change. As part of the concrete measure to realize the vision of the MAC, or Mangrove Alliance for Climate, we understand the important contribution of the research and innovation through the establishment of the International Mangrove Research Center in Bali that uh, our target to be inaugurated next year, end of next year. Considering the importance to strengthen community-based solution, the government of Indonesia and the UAE are preparing the new initiative on the nature and climate partnership. The coordinating ministry for food affairs together with the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Forestry have identified several priority areas such as forest management and restoration, including to support the volume net sink, an integrated nature program, ecosystem and biodiversity conservation, and the pilot project for the public-private community partnership. We aim to build the jurisdictional market-based governance framework that integrates carbon pricing, community-inclusive governance. In the same time, it also creates a design of the innovative financing mechanisms that increase investments in ecosystem restoration and biodiversity conservation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in order to support the implementation of sustainable forest and mangrove management, Indonesia would like to highlight the importance of the sustainable multilateral funding mechanism and additional resources from public and private sector, including blended finance, and other innovative funding scheme. Indonesia, Brazil, and DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, have good cooperation on the tropical forest. Then the initiative was developed by Brazil with the blended finance mechanism approach, which is called the Tropical Forest Forever Facility, or TFFF initiative. Indonesia has committed to supporting this initiative that in line with the Indonesian initiative on the G20 Bali Global Blended Finance Alliance. To conclude, let us also remember that protecting forests is not just about planting trees, but it's also about the people. Indigenous people and local communities are the true guardians of the world's remaining tropical forests. Their traditional knowledge and sustainable practices have preserved this ecosystem for the centuries. In this session, we have our speaker from the various background, from the government, international organization, and also private sector. So it is our hope that through this event, we can collaborate further and work more closely in accelerating our forest climate action. Thank you very much and wish for productive and fruitful discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ibu Nani, for the keynote. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have as many as 2 keynotes today, so allow me to kindly invite His Excellency Mohammed Said Sultan Al Nuaimi. He's the Undersecretary of the UAE Ministry of Climate Change and Environment.
Excellencies, dear colleagues, it's a pleasure to be again with our friends, brother from Indonesia. And I'm here just to congratulate you for the new alliance you launched in Brazil and wish you all the best. And to tell you our story when we launched the Mangrove Alliance in coordination with our brother Indonesia and COP27. That was a remarkable start where we reach now over 45 countries in this alliance. We have the Secretariat and we started 4 years back, and now I think with more than 45 countries. A lot of initiatives has been done through different countries. The Mangrove Alliance is, I think, one of the biggest impact because it is directly talking to the environment itself. There is no kind of barriers between the Mangrove Alliance and putting the mangrove plants and the climate. So there is a direct impact. This is why it's one of the success alliance. What we see over the previous 4 years, as I said, more than 45 countries are there. And thank you, Indonesia, for your support. And there is the institute. Inshallah, hopefully next year, it will be built and launched by next year. And again, this is kind of alliance we are expecting from all other countries. So wish you all the best in the new alliance. And as always, UAE is part of the climate change agenda, and we are here to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mohammed Said Sultan Al Nuaimi, for the keynote. Well, since we have an enormous and a powerful panel today, I'm sure they would be able to address the following: the financing scheme available to improve tropical forest management, and how to enforce public-private partnership in advancing tropical forest conservation, the challenges, opportunities to ensure long-term sustainability actions. For that, I would like to kindly invite all the speakers. I would like to call upon the first one. Please welcome the Head of Economic and Environmental Advisory Office from the Ministry Environment and Climate Change, Republic of Brazil, Mr. Andre Aquino. Thank you for joining us, sir. Senior Vice President of Health, Safety, Security and Environment, PT Pertamina Persero, Ibu Weni Ipmawan. Bapak, I'm so sorry, I apologize, sir. Chief Sustainability Officer, APP Group, Ibu Elim Sritaba. Vice President of Research and Product Development, Ibu Anissa Ayu Soraya, which I believe will join us online. As well as the Climate Change Technical Specialist from UNDP, Catherine Diamvaya. And to lead the session, please welcome Special Staff of Strategic Policy on Forestry and Environment to the Coordinating Minister for Food Affairs, Indonesia, Mbak Meizani Irmadiani. Over to you.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here today, and we also extend a thank you to Deputy Coordinating Minister Bunani, as well as Undersecretary of Ministry of Climate Change, Bapak Said Sultan. Today we have a very good representative, I think very great representative of people from not just across nations, but also representing both the private sector as well as multilateral and also from the government of Brazil. We are going to talk about something very important to all our hearts, actually, right? How do we accelerate financing to the nature and forests that we need the most for not just for the global goods, but also for the people and the communities. We know the scale of the challenge. I think Bunani explained quite well about the natural resources and capital and support. But really, I think we want to listen from the speakers here today to share a little bit of the story. How do we bridge this gap? We know the scale of the challenge, but the scale of the financing has not met that challenge yet. So what do you think can bridge this gap between what needs to be done and what is there to do now? Maybe I'll start with Andre, who is leading the tropical Forest Forever facility that was just recently launched and also have very good standing today during the initial discussions in COP and everything. So can you tell us a bit about how do we do this?
Thank you. Terima kasih, Bu. Salam. Okay. Yeah, salam sejahtera untuk kami semuanya. It's a great pleasure to be here in Belém talking to my friends from Indonesia and around the world. I was looking here, it's a very interesting place where we are, right? So Indonesia here, India right there, Brazil, China. And I wanted to start with this, which is we are talking about forests as a new source of financing. The TFFF has been a proposal by the government of Brazil to mobilize financing and new and additional funding, including from the Global South. So I would really like to start this talk here by thanking the government of Indonesia on behalf of Minister Marina, on behalf of the government of Brazil. Indonesia, along with Brazil, announced $1 billion in investment to the TFFF just a few days ago. I cannot overemphasize the importance of what Indonesia did. Not only because of the amount, but much more because of the signal being sent to the world about our commitment to our own resources. So, I think the key thing is, and I keep saying this, we don't need anybody to tell Brazil we need to protect our forests. And these forests are being lost not because we are these evil creatures that like to cut forests. It's for economic variables. And behind this economic rationale, there is politics and complicated politics. And I think we see this throughout the discussion on climate change. The TFFF basically aims to generate a stable, large-scale source of funding to pay for standing forests. It's a very simple logic, a payment per hectare of tropical forests. And then also to generate incentives to stop, reduce deforestation. So there would be a penalty of 100 to 200 times every time a country loses a hectare of forest. So the logic is simple, a payment per hectare of forest and deductions if forests are lost. And to monitor this, the idea is to use country systems. So Indonesia has their own forest monitoring system, Brazil we have ours, and so on. They need to meet minimum quality criteria, of course. They need to be reliable. We're just out of a panel on the importance of metrics to build investor confidence. So we need to have good data, but we have good data. Many of our countries have very good data. In the case of Brazil, we have been providing data on deforestation to the international community since 2008, since we signed the bilateral agreement with Norway. So let's use the systems that exist, move forward. And then one thing I would like to highlight, and I will not go much deeper for now, is this commitment that countries make to set aside at least 20% of the payments to indigenous peoples and local communities. This is key to Brazil, and I'm sure also to Indonesia, because we understand, and it's very clear for anybody that likes data, that local communities are protecting these forests. In the case of Brazil, our indigenous territories are by far, the least deforested areas. And you probably saw we have demonstrations of indigenous people today here. This is part of a democratic government. We are discussing what they are asking, and they are always asking something to protect the forest. It's very interesting. So the protest now is about infrastructure projects. So, to conclude, when working at full speed, the TFFF could raise up to $4 billion every year to countries. This is raising international financing for tropical forests by 3 times. In the case of Brazil, we have been looking at how much this would mean to us in a scenario of not zero deforestation, which is our goal for 2030. But if we use what we have today, the deforestation we have today, it would triple, increase 3 times the budget of our Ministry of Environment and Climate, including protected areas management, fire management. So it's a significant increase to the funding available to conserve and promote the sustainable use of forests. We call here in Brazil bioeconomy. So I think I just conclude here by saying the launch on Thursday was a big success, but we have a road forward, and we really look forward to having all countries, the UAE, engaged. The UAE has been part of the steering committee of the design of the TFFF since the beginning. We had 6 countries, right, from what we call potential investor countries: UAE, France, Germany, Norway, the UK, and there was the United States, and then 6 tropical countries: Indonesia, Malaysia, DRC, Ghana, Colombia, and Brazil. So again, thank you so much for the time. Look forward to discussing more about the TFFF. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre, and applause to you and the government of Brazil as well as the government of Indonesia to really show that leadership, all right? I think talking about bridging the gap and incentives, but it's really about how countries are really leading in this space as well. So I think this is a very exciting time for us, for all of us. And I want to go to Pak Weni from Pertamina. He is leading also the health, security, safety, and environment. What is the role, Pak Weni, in the role of private sector, and how have you seen not just the global aspects of financing in general, but what are key actions that you and the company has done to really push this forward? Thanks.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here speaking before you today. I would like to thank to everyone's coming here, attend this presentation. Today, I would like to present about our experience in forest conservation and rehabilitation in Pertamina. So let's get started. Next slide, please. Why forest restoration and rehabilitation should be urgent and then matter to be managed right now, because we know that in the left side in the bar chart, we know that forestry and other land use or follow stand as the second highest source of emission, greenhouse gas emission. They contributed 23% of the total greenhouse gas emission. So if we can stop the deforestation, of course, we can also reduce the emission for the methane. This is the impact of deforestation we can face in Indonesia, like natural disaster, loss of biodiversity, climate change, and of course the decline in quality of life. So Pertamina right now, Indonesia right now anticipate to the reduce the impact of the deforestation following or under follow netting 2030 that with the target of 140 million ton of CO2 equivalent emission absorption from the forestry by 2030, and include social forestry, incoming forestry sector carbon trading, and also mangrove rehabilitation in coastal area in the for the front to the natural disaster. This is the overall efforts, of course, to make the forest the restoration will be a success in the next. Next slide, please. This is our policy, Pertama policy, which is aligned with the government policy to protect and preserve the environment and the biodiversity. And we are also have health, safety, security, and environment policy, which has the goal to promote biodiversity conservation by integrating biodiversity aspect into company activities from upstream to downstream. So Pertamina is not just only for the compliant, but also for the beyond compliant to create the sustainability of the forest. Next slide, please. And this is the detail of how we can manage biodiversity in Pertamina. We do biodiversity risk assessment based on the baseline framework, environmental impact assessment, and then leasehold of forest area license, and also the IUCN Red List threatened species. This effort will get the goals for the net positive impact. Of course, this all effort refers to the biodiversity management guideline to ensure our responsible to meet our regulation. Next slide, please. And this is our approach to manage the forest. There is two approach: mandatory action and then voluntary action. For mandatory action, we know in Indonesia we have PPKH or leasehold of forest area license. When we this is a permit given by the government to Pertamina to use a forest area for non-forestry activities. So if Pertamina as the holder of PPKH must plant trees in the watershed. And for the voluntary action, we have to collaborate with the Ministry of Forestry to social forestry program. And then also we conduct biodiversity program based on the local area potential. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the result of mandatory forest management in Pertamina, that until now the total area of planting trees to fulfill the obligation of the PPKH is about 1,500 hectares, and spread across all subholding area in Pertamina from upstream to downstream. Next slide, please. And this is the result or the regime of voluntary forestry management. We have 337 sustainable forest program, and among them 13 location is a part of the collaboration with the government, which we call a social forestry program. Next slide, please. And this is the success story of our social forestry in Bali. The name is Kayangan Besaki, and the result for this implementation program is over 35 people here in sustainable forest, and then increase in the group income about 123 million per month, and more than 2,000 tourists from around the world come to there, and spring water is still maintained until now. Next slide, please. And this is the result also from our biodiversity program to protect endangered and endemic flora and fauna in Indonesia, like orangutan and then Sumatra elephant and others. Next slide, please. And this is before I close this presentation, I would like to leave you one statement: as we power Indonesian energy future, Pertamina is equally committed to protecting nature, ensuring biodiversity conservation, and achieving a net positive impact through responsible practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Paweni. And I think it's quite interesting, right? We have a representative from Pertamina from the energy sector. And I think, I'll come back to you, Pak Weni, later on to dig a little deep on the biodiversity conservation and work that you do. But I want to take it to Bu Elim Sritaba. Bu Elim is the Chief Sustainability Officer for APP Group, who has been working in the forestry sector for a long, long time. So you have seen perhaps the evolution of how do we look at nature and how does nature being included in not just production side, but also how do we value protection and what does that mean in terms of a company that has been in the industry for a while, and what are the key from both the policy and also the challenges you see for to achieve these climate adaptation and mitigation actions that we need. Bu Elim, please.
Yeah, thank you, Meizani. So yeah, APP is one of the biggest pulp and paper producer based in Indonesia. Like how the moderator explained, we are already more than decades, and I would like to explain APP as a company has a commitment no deforestation. And within the first decade, which is the last 10 years, we already have a commitment, what we call a no harm commitment. So we started with the no deforestation within our supply chain and established long strategy on how we can improve no harm system in our company system. So we established all the environmental impact assessment, high conservation value assessment, social impact assessment, and then of course with the experience managing 2.6 million gross area within Indonesia, and with the set aside 600,000 conservation. So we have a series of experience and of course the challenges as well. And moving forward with our new commitment under Regenesis, we just launched in September to upgrade our commitment on how we upgrade our conservation and restoration initiative become 1 million hectares. So this commitment, of course, we cannot do it alone, and we shifting our commitment from no harm into doing more good. So means how we can move to the forest positive policy. So we touch in the forest, and of course people like how our Deputy Minister Bunani just now mentioned that people is also the center. So talking about the challenges on the ground when we are not starting from the zero from this commitment under Regenesis. So from the 600,000 hectare, we focus to upgrade the quality of the forest for the last 10 years. And now moving forward, we are thinking that we cannot focus on our own concession, but we have to scaling up into the landscape level. So APP working in the 5 provinces in Indonesia. Go to the next slide. So basically, we are thinking this is the momentum that just now also Andre talking about the TFFF, how we can also enlarge our or scaling up our impact into the based on our forest positive policy to be a public-private community partnership. So there is some experience when we work with the community, and I'm sure that we need like a social transformation within the landscape itself in the forest to make sure that we can protect the forest for the long term and more sustainable. So this is some of the experience or the pipeline within our operation that we map that potential to be a public-private community partnership. And talking about the mangrove, just now our deputy mentioned, so we wanna focus on the South Sumatra because in that area we found there is a big challenges in terms of illegal fishery, which is impacted to the mangrove around the coastal. So experience with the community, they just need livelihood. They just need livelihood, but how we can balance between the livelihood and while also bringing understanding that how they also understand how they have to protect the mangrove, but also get benefit from that area. So I think this is some opportunity. I see this is during the, this year COP that between public, private, community, how we can together design a pilot and doing like a social transformation, and how we can also connect with the carbon project, and carbon credit can benefit back to the forest and community. So I think I stop here and we can discuss later, but I see this is our experience, and the opportunity moving forward can be something we can talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Elim. And I think the role of public, private, and community is really critical. I think Deputy Coordinating Minister also explained that this is really important because partnership is key, because when we talk about nature and also forests, it is an ecosystem that is also comprising of not just biodiversity, but a diversity of players and stakeholders. So I think I know it's late today in Indonesia, or early maybe this morning, maybe so 1 a.m. or something like that. So we will give the floor to Bu Anissa, who is leading the research and development of ID survey. So we heard a bit from the government of Brazil, we heard also from the private sector, but from the services company, as things get developed, as companies, as government move from not just do no harm or stopping and halting degradation towards nature positive economies, what is the role of ID survey as well as services companies to really support and accelerate this? Bu Anissa, can you hear me? Let's test your audio. I think you should be okay.
Yes, Mbak Mezani. Thank you.
Okay, Bu Anissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, distinguished delegates. It's an honor to represent ID Survey. Today, I will share how Indonesia state-owned enterprises are driving the nation's green transformation by building a green business ecosystem that connects policy, innovation, and collaboration to achieve real climate impact. Next. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, ID Surveys is Indonesia's state-owned holding company, uniting Bureau Klasifikasi Indonesia, Sukovindo, and Survey Indonesia under one integrated system. We operate 96 laboratory services points and more than 100 service points across Indonesia and 12 international locations. Our services cover over 150 types of certification across various sectors, ensuring quality, safety, and sustainability in every line of business. Building on this foundation, let's look Indonesia broader climate and economic landscape that shapes our green transformation journey. Next. Okay. Indonesia plays a pivotal role in the global climate agenda, just like Ibu Deputy mentioned before. We have over 17,000 islands with more than 94 million hectares of tropical forests, and its mangroves, seagrass, and coral reefs store around 17% of the world's blue carbon, positioning Indonesia as a natural carbon powerhouse. Indonesia also plays a key role in global nature-based solutions, including the Blue Carbon and Voluntad Sink 2030 initiative. However, as a top 10 climate vulnerable nation, Indonesia faces sea level rise, warming trends, and high volume emission. Indonesia also committed to net zero by 2060 or earlier, and these efforts are guided by our national climate policy priorities, accelerating energy transition, and also promoting sustainable forestry and blue carbon, advancing circular economy, and strengthening climate resilience for agriculture and food security. Next. Indonesia state-owned enterprises align with national and international standards, regulatory frameworks, market needs, and sustainability priorities to accelerate the transition towards a low-carbon and inclusive economy. Across sectors, SOEs are adopting greener practices such as green healthcare system, eco-efficient manufacturing, climate-smart agriculture, green mining, renewable energy, sustainable logistics, and ecotourism. For financial insurance and infrastructure, the telecommunication SOEs also strengthen the green backbone through sustainable financing, ESG governance, smart cities, the low carbon technologies. And these collective efforts from an inclusive synergy across industries, creating a national green business ecosystem that connects policies, markets, and communities for a sustainable and competitive in Indonesia. Next. Okay. Indonesia's state-owned enterprises are evolving from just fulfilling environmental obligations to becoming catalysts for cross-sector collaboration, driving green value creation and sustainable growth. At the first stage, SOEs focus on compliance, ensuring alignment with ESG regulations and reporting requirements. This stage is about meeting standards to establish a baseline of accountability and transparency. And the second stage is commitment. Once compliance is achieved, the next step is commitment that integrating green principles into business strategy. And here, as SOEs begin setting emission reduction targets, improving energy efficiency, and implementing green procurement practices, etc. But commitment alone isn't enough. The third stage is about collaboration, building synergy between SOEs, the private sector, and government institutions. SOEs are creating shared value and amplifying impact across sectors. And finally, when collaboration matures, it evolves into an ecosystem. A national green business ecosystem connects green value change, green financing mechanism, and sustainable innovation under one integrated framework. At this level, SOEs don't act in isolation. They co-create as a self-sustaining and interconnected green economy. And the fourth stage transformation delivers tangible outcomes for Indonesia green transition, such as accelerating Indonesia green transition through stronger institutional capacity, positioning SOEs as regional leaders in sustainable growth and innovation, creating inclusive green jobs and innovation opportunities across regions, enhancing transparency and carbon integrity, catalyzing policy alignment and market readiness, and fostering global and regional partnership. Next. Yeah, ID Survey holds a unique position in Indonesia green transformation landscape. We are not just a provider of inspection, testing, and certification services. We are a bridge between sustainability standards and real business transformation. Across industry, many businesses aspire to go green, yet often don't know where to begin. This is where ID Survey acts as an enabler, guiding organizations to translate sustainability commitments into measurable action. ID Survey's green business services are built upon three strategic pillars. The first one is decarbonization, to supporting companies in reducing emissions, managing their carbon footprint. And the second one is eco framework, ensuring resource efficiency and environmental compliance through testing, inspection, and certification. And the third one, ESG and sustainability. This one is to providing strategic guidance, ESG assessments, and sustainability reporting to strengthen long-term business resilience and investor trust. Next. Yeah, to unlock Indonesia's full green business potential, we must build an ecosystem where policy, innovation, finance, people, and markets move in harmony. The first one is green policy and regulation. Indonesia green transformation requires regulatory frameworks that incentives sustainable practices such as carbon pricing and renewable energy mandates. This policy provides clarity and confidence for investors and industry to commit long term. And the second one is clean technology and innovation, developing and scaling clean technology, energy efficient system, and digital solution can drastically improve productivity while reducing emissions. The third one is green investment and financing. Mechanisms like green bonds, ESG-linked loans, and carbon markets can unlock billions in sustainable investment. And the fourth one is human capital and community empowerment. There's no transformation that happens without people, so developing green skills and empowering local communities ensures that the transition is not only low carbon but also inclusive. And the next one is sustainable supply chain and market areas. By integrating environmental standards into procurement, production, and logistics, Indonesia can access premium global green markets and meet international ESG standards. And next one is opportunities will unlock when these five pillars work together, and opportunities will arise, such as like boosting cost and energy efficiency, unlocking access to global green markets and ESG financing, creating inclusive green jobs and local prosperity, enhancing global credibility, and aligning with green regulation and standards. Next. Yeah, no single actor can deliver a green transition alone. We are building synergy among government, academia, the financial sector, industry, and local communities, each playing a distinct interconnected role. So the collaboration with academia enables co-development of cleaner technologies, collaboration with financial sector, and collaboration with communities to ensure in inclusive and equitable transition. At the center of this collaboration is ID Survey, the holding of Indonesia SOEs. Our role is to strengthen Indonesia's position in the global green value chain through credible assurance, trusted certification, validation, and verification. Through ID Survey's international network and partnership, we advance global cooperation and support Indonesia's NDC to 2030 and net zero 2060 targets. With inclusive collaboration and credible verification, Indonesia is not only participating in the global green economy, but helping shape it. Next. Okay, thank you for your kind attention. Through collaboration and innovation, together with ID Survey, are paving the way for a greener, more sustainable future. Let's continue turning ambition into real climate action. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Anissa, and thank you for that very detailed presentation as well about the different ecosystems required to achieve this transition and partnership. I want to go to you now, Catherine. So, as someone representative of the UN Development Program and the Climate Change Unit, what are key sustainable solutions that you see are paving the way for nature and climate activities to move forward into this nature-positive economy?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us, and thanks for the panelists. It's been such a great discussion, and I think you have all the pieces here at the stage talking about the different aspects and how we can all contribute to this common goal. I have to start with the NDCs. I work on NDCs a lot. I'm a global policy advisor on NDCs. And just recognizing how forestry is becoming so prominent in the NDCs. So through the UN system, UNDP and the UN system, we have supported 105 countries in the preparation of the NDCs. We have 115 parties submitted as of, I think, yesterday. And forestry is becoming, we compare the data, of course, between the last submission and the new submission. And we have, for instance, 69% of the NDCs submitted talking about afforestation, reforestation. It's like any country that has a forest to protect is including it in their NDC. It is clear that as a global community, we are recognizing more and more that we cannot reach the 1.5 target without the forest, without either preserving the forest or restoring those forests. So for Indonesia, next slide please. Indonesia's tropical forests, as we've said, are among the most important ecosystem on this earth. They host extraordinary biodiversity. They regulate regional and global climate system. They protect watershed, agricultural productivity. They reduce risk of floods, drought, landslide, and provide livelihoods. But we know that the benefits of the forest of Indonesia goes beyond Indonesia itself. Yeah, it's just like Brazil, the lung of the earth. So the benefits are global. But of course, we have challenges. Next slide, please. Over the last decade, Indonesia has demonstrated that sustainable forest management is possible at national scale. The Folu Net Sink 2030 commitment, the expansion of the social forest to empower community-based stewardship, progress in peatland and mangrove restoration, and strengthened forest monitoring system are important achievements that contribute to climate mitigation and equitable development. However, we recognize that these gains are taking place in a context of ongoing pressure, such as competing land use demands, infrastructure and agriculture expansion needs, market-driven commodity production, and the growing impact of climate change, of course. The challenge before us is how do we sustain and scale forest protection and climate benefits while ensuring economic growth. So now to what UNDP has been doing with the government of Indonesia. Next slide, please. UNDP is honored to have been a close partner with Indonesia in this journey. We have worked with the government to strengthen policy and governance system for forest and land use management. We are expanding community rights and benefits through social forestry, including access to finance. We are advancing sustainable palm oil and traceability through jurisdictional approaches, restoring peatland and mangrove ecosystem for climate resilience, and facilitating partnership with the private sector and international finance. UNDP role is to help Indonesia translate its commitment into lasting implementation with integrity, transparency, and a community-centered impact. Next slide, please. So for innovative finance, I would not go into this too long because my colleague has already covered it, but just to say what we think our role will be in this TFFF. We have been quite involved in getting the countries engaged with doing all the dialogues and supporting the Secretariat. But in the implementation phase, we are also planning to support the countries to meet the eligibility criteria of this fund and support them through that process. So this is what we do best, the capacity building, the creating the enabling environment in the countries. Next slide, please. We lost our... To safeguard Indonesia's forests for the long term, predictable and durable financing is critical. In this context, the tropical forest, sorry, I was reading a different slide. But Indonesia has already what it takes to be fully part of the TFFF and to take full advantage of this new fund through the Folu Net Sink roadmap to the environmental fund model that you have already. So there has been so much work done between for the last few years that are making you ready for this transformation. But just to take it back also to the global level, since that's what I'm more comfortable talking about. In the next phase of the climate promise, we are calling it the climate promise forward. Forestry is going to be prominent. We are going to shape this support for NDC implementation around 4 main pillars. Policy coherence, and this is bringing you to what you ask about the climate commitment, the nature-based solution commitment, the forestry commitment, all the commitments that you have in the different conventions, and also aligning also with the national development priorities. So that's going to be one big pillar that we will be supporting countries on. Finance is going to be also key. Everybody wants finance. But for us, we feel like creating the enabling environment for finance, especially private sector finance, is going to be key in the implementation phase, knowing that governments are already committing so much of their public budgets. And we know that the public investment that is available right now is not going to be enough. So how do we make sure that the governments have the policies, the regulation, the incentives that are bringing private sector into all the different sectors, not just the forestry, but energy, agriculture, and so on. And then scaling solution. I think in this regard, Indonesia has a lot, I don't even need this, Indonesia has a lot to offer. There are so many solutions that Indonesia has developed that can be scaled within Indonesia and also in the other part of our portfolio. So we're looking forward to learning from you and bringing your experience. And last but not least is the engagement piece of the overall offer, making sure that everybody is at the table and that they benefit from the implementation and we don't leave anyone behind. So overall, that's our vision for the future, and we look forward to continuing working with Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. It's very interesting. I think, one of the key elements, I think you mentioned around policy as well as capacity, but I think I want to kind of circle back to perhaps Andre. You've been working quite a long time in the sector around financing. What are the key elements and what makes it special, the TFFF? Can you explain a little bit more? I know you explain, share about the mechanisms, but I think I want to ask you two questions. What makes it special, and then what is the main challenge to really accelerating the implementation of the TFFF? Thanks.
Okay, thanks, and great to hear from all of you. I think a key aspect of the TFFF is the financial structure, right? So most of the funding coming to expected to come to the TFFF would be from the private sector. So Ibunani talked about the Global Blended Finance Alliance. TFFF is blended finance. So it's expected that 20% of the overall capital would come from sovereign sources as investments. We are not talking about grants, donations here. Really countries that put their money. Norway, Norway, they announced 3 billion. It would be investment. Brazil, again, we announced 1 billion. This is not going to be a grant from Brazil. We don't have 1 billion in grant. We wish we had, we don't. It will be an investment at low return, and that's what we are supporting. It's putting money in a low return investment, but it is reimbursable. So this is key. The second point, still on the financing aspect, the TFFF is an endowment fund at the end. So those of you, from Indonesia, it is like the Blue Abadi fund. Or in Brazil, it's like Fumbio in Brazil, right? We have, the objective of the TFFF is to raise 125 billion, and this money will then be invested in markets to get financial returns. And it's the difference between the financial return and what we pay back to the investors. It's this difference that will generate the returns to be distributed to tropical countries based on performance, based on forest cover. And a third innovation, I would say, and this is key, it's a jurisdictional mechanism. Sometimes this is a bit confusing with REDD+. No, so it's national level. It's the whole country of Indonesia. This is very important. So the result is the forest cover. The payments will be based on the monitoring of the overall forest cover of Brazil or of Indonesia. So in the case of Brazil, it's tropical forest, right? In the case of Brazil, this means the Amazon and the Atlantic rainforest. This is important because sometimes we don't talk about the Atlantic rainforest. That's where we have São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro. That's where the center, like the industrial center of the country is. All of it. So in the case of Indonesia, that's Papua, Kalimantan, Sumatra, everything. And the payments, they will not go to projects. This is very important, okay? Because sometimes say, how do I apply to the TFFF? This doesn't exist. Each country will decide how they allocate their money. So in the case of Brazil, for instance, we have been thinking that we would like to have a national level payment for ecosystem services program, right? In the case of Indonesia, you could well imagine something through BPDLH, or Indonesia Environmental Fund. But it is the national decision of each country. No long projects, application, that whole industry of preparing projects, you know. It's supposed to go to national policies and programs.
Thanks, Andre. I think it's very interesting. I think one of the key elements of this effort is also understanding how does role of private sectors and others cannot just benefit, maybe not directly, but also strengthen the process forward.
Just say a word about that. Thank you so much, particularly because we have Pertamina here, APP. Companies are welcome to join us as investors. So the second tranche of the TFFF, we call it the senior tranche, it will be capitalized through bonds, the issuance of bonds. The manager of this whole big thing will be the World Bank. So the mechanism, the facility will issue bonds. You can buy the bonds, right? Any investment company can buy the bonds. This will be fixed the income, low risk, AAA, AA bonds. So that's a great investment opportunities for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe I'll come back to Bu Elim first. Bu Elim, what are your thoughts about the experience that you have already and for the future? What are the key elements from the global markets that can help support real programs and real conservation efforts on the ground?
Yeah, I agree that for the long term, we need to think about how we put the finance in terms of investment rather than grant. But for Indonesia, the concept itself need like an enabler, right? To design in terms of concept, which is, of course, we have to start with investment, but to help the community, we need to some kind like a grant. But this grant to be designed to how this concept between if we talk about the landscape level public-private community partnership, we need to design the concept for as an enabler. Then this during the implementation, then maybe we can link with the investment like TFFF. So this is maybe how we can design the blended finance, because of for experience I back to the South Sumatra. APP invested for the 3 years to start with the 2 villages to have a pilot. Because of in that coastal area, a lot of illegal fishery already happened, and we cannot say to the community that you have to out from this area, but we have to find solution. And we started with the non-profit organization in Indonesia, working with 2 villages as a pilot, and then we see there is a success story. When you educate the community, they understand about the importance of the ecosystem there. Some part they agree to restore back to the mangrove, because of they realize if they continue to doing it without sustainable ways, the productivity of the shrimp, which is a shrinking. And when they realize, and then of course with the long term, we need 3 years only 2 village. So they agree to plan about 40 hectares, and then they see the result is a productivity. Yeah, there is a increment about the productivity of the harvesting of the shrimp. So seeing this situation, we are thinking that how we can scaling up with the landscape, like because this almost 200,000 within the coastal from the south to north up to national park. Because of this, I think in terms, if we measure the risk for the not only for the mangrove but the whole South Sumatra, so we'll impact it from the sea water level. And then I think we need to quickly design, and APP cannot do alone. So this is we need some kind like a fund, how we can together, because of in that area is not APP the only private sector as a players. So I agree with you, but we need some kind like a start as a grant, and then how this connect, we can connect it again with the carbon project, carbon credit, and this carbon credit can fund it back, and then maybe we connect back with the TFFF. So that's the design that, which is, I think minimum 5 years we need to design, and then create the pilot more than 2 villages, because of that's only one spot. How we can implement between several spots within the landscape, and then we can find the right business model to implement for the long term. So yeah, that's maybe my suggestion for the
Definitely.
one
Thank you,
landscape.
Bu Elim.
Thank you.
I want to go back to Pa Weni. Pa Weni, I think you explained a bit on the biodiversity conservation, and
Yeah.
I think the commitment for compliance and also voluntary. But can you touch a little bit about not just beyond the numbers, right? How has investing and protecting nature support the business also, and the communities in the surrounding area? Can you touch base a little bit about that?
Yes, in Pertamina we have the program like corporate responsibility. Yeah, so the people around our operation activity, we have to develop or to improve the capacity of the people to protect their environment, to protect the nature, and then etc. So if the nature and environment surrounding our company well maintained and protected by the people, so the beneficial not only for the company but also for the communities also, and then some several program also related to the how to improve the quality of economy in community surrounding of Pertamina, in link with the how to improve the quality of the forest in also in surrounding in Pertamina. In the program Pertamina Sustainable Forestry, or in Indonesia we said Hutan Lestari Pertamina, we also have to improve the capability of the people in around of the Pertamina area. This is cover 3 thematic: sustainable forestry tourism, and sustainable forestry for bioenergy, and sustainable forestry for the sustainable food. So if this program can implement in our community surrounding operation of Pertamina, I think the people around the Pertamina will improve about the quality of life. That's maybe. Thank you.
Thank you, Pa Weni. And I know that there's a lot of enthusiasm. There's a lot of people in the audience as well. I want to give a little bit of a chance for Q&A. But before going to Q&A, just a quick question for you, Catherine. What is, all of these efforts, what are the key elements in terms of capacity that both UNDP is supporting, but countries like Brazil, like Indonesia, and also in the private sector can help to accelerate these efforts?
Well, I think we are at the cup of implementation, and we need to think about implementation differently. So at UNDP, as you know, we do mostly grants. We receive funding from the donor countries, and we grant those. We use that fund for grants, whether you're accessing a JEF or GCF or just a bilateral grant. That's the way we have been doing business. But now, the scale of the funding that's needed means that we need to use those grants more, much smarter than what we have been doing. So the capacity that we can provide, I mean, the tools that we can use is going back to the blended finance. How do we use not only the funding, but the capacity building that we are doing to scale up that investment? So doing either the proof of concept, the feasibility studies, or doing the first layer of investment. That's something big that needs to come in. How do you use that grants to be like the first the first concessional finance you're getting in that. So I think for us, whether it's in the forestry sector or any sector, that is going to be what's going to make the difference going forward as we really want to scale up implementation. Thanks.
Thank you. And I would like to give open for the audience, because we have a lot of people here. Anyone with the questions for the panelists up here, or Anissa from online, also from ID Survey, please raise your hands.
Thank you very much. I'm Anita from Nigeria, President of Women in Renewable Energy Association. And I want to thank the panelists for their very proactive contribution on forests, conserving tropical forests for ecosystem service and climate. But in Nigeria is a big challenge for the rural women because they need to cook. They cut down the trees and cook and cook and cook. Even if you are trying to create awareness, you do capacity building for them, you do skill acquisition programs for them, develop the communities, they still cut the trees. So the alternative that we have for them is probably using the waste, particularly livestock waste, like the poops of the swine, poops of the poultry, generate gas, using biodigesters and all. These can be very expensive. So my question is, how can we collaborate as per the dictates of Sustainable Development Goal 17? Collaborate with all of you and everybody even here. How can we collaborate and make sure that we give the women, that is Sustainable Development Goal 5, that empowerment through the mandate of Sustainable Development Goal 7, giving them affordable access to energy to cook, clean cooking. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Maybe Andre, you want to explain a bit also, maybe Catherine and others, what's the link between this nature and also from the energy side? Because everything is interlinked.
Thank you so much for that question. I'm happy to take it. In my previous life, that's what I did for a living. Working with women on cooking, on clean cooking, and we were using carbon finance, actually, to give them access to a more affordable technology, to the more affordable sources of finance. So I think what I did not say during my intervention is also what we can do and make sure there is the funding that's coming, the capacity is coming, is actually touching those people on the ground who need it the most. And we can support, UNDP does that all the time, we can support with that. So I think the solution is to have something that they can use that's affordable. Now, how you finance it is a different story. In general, people have been financing it with grants, which is not always sustainable. And we found, and I have a friend here who works on carbon finance who just walked in, we used to work together, that we have found that when you are providing a new technology and you are giving it, they may not value it. So the key here is how do you make it affordable and how do you take to them the technology that is the most appropriate for them. You don't want to give them a cook stove that they're not going to touch. So we will happy, we're actually thinking about it in Nigeria. We work in Nigeria and we are just now working on clean cooking. So happy to talk to you later after this meeting. Thank you so much for the question.
Anyone else have questions? Please feel free to raise their hands. I also just want to add a little bit. I know I'm a moderator, but in Indonesia, we also, as part of the government's focus around food security, water security, and energy security, everything plays a role, all right? And when we talk about nature protection, you touch a very important piece, which is basically what are the key drivers of deforestation. By addressing the key drivers, by providing solutions like that connects not just nature-based solutions, but also technology-based solution on the ground is critical. It's also maybe different, but also the government of Indonesia with partners also looking at fisheries and how fishers community, especially in very remote areas, how they can be provided not just switching, but some fishers communities do not have access to energy. How that can do together with solar panels, cold chains with solar technology, PV, but also with certification in tuna and other fisheries to also increase the market value of these communities as well as they enter into a more value add market. I think these are kind of critical points as well. Any further questions, please? Just one more, yes, please. Here.
I'm Faisal Parish, Global Environment Center. Ibu Elim, you mentioned about the challenge of working in landscape with multiple partners. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on how you're working with the local community and also how you try to bring together the different stakeholders on the landscape to have a common approach?
Yeah, thank you. So basically, we had a flagship program when we launched since 2015 and implement 2016. That program as well we implement. Of course, we priority which villages or community that has a high priority in terms of risk. We start with that area and then scaling up to other area. Maybe you can show my slide very quick for the last slide. So basically that's one sample and answering also your question about the women empowerment that Ibu Mezani explained. That's also something that we did in these two villages when we teach the women how use the non-timber product and then create the value-added product, for example, from shrimp, from the fishery that they have, is not thinking to scaling up the fishery and damaging the mangrove, but how they can create the value-added product like become milk fish flush, and then create the cake. But of course, again, this is our responsibility, how to also connect them with the market. So I think this is the program that we create, and we are already reached out about 400 villages, but of course in a lot of kind of product. So, but this is one of the sample how we can reach out the women, not only women group, but the whole community to try to bring understanding that not always have to be cutting the trees, but a non-timber forest product is a lot of by also upgrading with the value-added product. Other products like honey, etc. Also, I think, because of no more time, but we create that kind of program to ensure that the women understand, not only women, the community understand how they can protect the forest, but also improve their livelihood. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, and please give a round of applause again to all the speakers, including the keynote speaker for today. I think today's discussion has been so rich, and also to share knowledge from different partners, different diverse partners within the tropical ecosystems, forest ecosystems that we have, and also to show that conservation and forest management for ecosystem services and climate is not just about protection, it's also about inclusive development, partnership, capacity building, and also mobilizing resources to both the communities and the global markets. Thank you very much. Please again give a round of applause, and thank you Bu Anissa for being here online with us as well. Thank you.